Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V20 6-Tool Power Tool Combo Kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
The Nationals are back home, and Walters is the place to be. Swing by before the game for a cold one, or come afterwards to catch late-night NBA playoffs. Head over to waltersdc.com/reservations to secure your reservation for this week.
Saturday, UFC 263 will be shown on Walters' massive TV, so make sure you plan to stick around after the Nationals game.
Scherzer over the head, the kick and the 2-2. Fastball just missed. Knee high and inside a full count again. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Max wanted that one at 96 miles an hour. And Turner's coming in toward the mound.
Something's wrong with Max.
On that last pitch, he kind of fell off to the first base side.
And then he just did like a one-legged squat out to the left. So he definitely felt something.
Yeah, to me, that would indicate a groin, possibly.
Pitch. Swinging a high fly ball to left on a slider. Schwarber back to the warning track. This one carrying, and he leaps at the wall. It's gone. Just into the Giants bullpen. A soaring fly for Posey on a night where the ball is carrying to left field. Here comes the 3-2. Swinging a high drive left center field. Way back goes Talkman. This one carrying back to the wall. He leaps, and he caught it. He robs him of a home run. Talkman goes over the wall to rob Soto of the game-tying homer. The Giants bullpen goes crazy as Mike Talkman makes the play of the night.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Saturday, June 12th, 2021. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark Zuckerman is off. He'll be back with us on the next installment of the Nats Chat podcast. And so I'm joined by the producer of the pod, Tim Shovers. And Tim, Friday night was set up to be such a great night. Game 1 of an 11-game homestand, the first game for which 100% capacity at Nationals Park has been permitted since the start of the pandemic. Ron Rivera threw out the ceremonial first pitch. Max Scherzer was pitching, and instead, disaster ensued. A 1-0 loss, another shutout loss for the Nats. And this time, it's a game in which Max Scherzer lasts for just 1 out and 12 pitches. So much for our wonderful Friday night.
Al, it was such an encapsulation of this 2021 season. I can tell you later on in the show if you want. I charted out the curse that the Nats have been under ever since October of 2019, ever since the end of Parade Day, if you want. This is just another chapter. And tonight, 5 minutes into an 11-game homestand, first time that it's full capacity since October of 2019, and this happens, just ridiculous.
Completely disastrous. Go ahead and lay that out. I'm anxious to hear that because I know some of these things, but I want to see if what you have matches up with I've got running through my mind here. The curse of the Nats since winning the 2019 World Series championship.
All right, it's rather lengthy. Okay, it started at the end of the parade, maybe even before the parade ended, when Scott Boras had his client, Steven Strasburg, opt out. So Nats fans don't even get to go to bed after the parade without the news that Strasburg's opting out. And immediately, you know that, okay, it's probably going to be him or Rendon. They're not going to sign both. So then a little over a month later, homegrown Rendon, he's gone out west. So Nats fans lose that. Then there's no opening day in late March because of COVID-19 in 2020. It's the first April without baseball since sometime, I believe, in the 1800s. So Nats fans are the first defending world champs ever to not get a proper opening day to celebrate the championship. Then they have exactly, Al, 0 fans in attendance for their next game, which comes in July of 2020. Soto tests positive before the game. The biblical rainstorm. Stanton hits a homer right away. So all the juice from the World Series is sucked out right away. Strasburg gets hurt. Corbin starts to sink. It's an extremely forgettable season. Keyboom flops for the first of 2 times. Now that leads us to 2021, where the Keyboom flop in spring hurts the entire roster, of which we're now still dealing with, after this, another putrid performance from the offense. COVID cancels the opening day of, even though they had no issues all of spring. They have a great win against Atlanta when opening day finally does start. Usually you have 24 to 48 hours to celebrate opening day. Instead, they have a doubleheader starting at noon the next day. They lose both. Eric Fetty gets blown up by the Braves. Plus, so many guys out for a while. Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber lose their mojo from spring. of which they still seemingly haven't fully awoken from. Strasburg gets hurt not once, but twice this year, Al. Corbin stinks still. Soto has the first extended slump of his career. Fetty has the best start of his life, then gets COVID despite getting vaccinated, and that whole thing, of which he still has not pitched in almost a month now. And then we fast forward to this week, supposed to last night, have an 11-game homestand, first time with full attendance. That's rained out. We try again tonight. Now we get the game in, but there was threat of rain all day, which hurt the momentum. That Max Scherzer starts. We finally get some good signs. 7:05 first pitch from Scherzer. 5 minutes later, he's hurt. And then the bullpen, a miraculous performance, and they still lose 1-0. And that, to me, is the curse of the Washington Nationals right now.
That, my friends, is quite a list. And, of course, everything that Tim just took us through, 100% true. I would even throw in something else, and this is kind of in the weeds, but it's something that's always stuck with me and really was the initiator in a lot of ways of all this. The day after the Nationals won the World Series, Trent Williams, who was holding out at the time for the Washington football team, which was not yet the Washington football team, broke his silence. And so in the world of sports talk, the day after the Nats won the World Series, you that afternoon had to shift from celebrating this Nationals championship to talking about this huge story. Trent, on the grounds of the team facility, shredded the team publicly in answering questions about why he was holding out. So, you couldn't even have the Nationals winning the World Series be the number one story in DC sports for 24 hours because you had this other big thing that ended up happening the next day. Things have not gone well since the Nationals won the World Series, and things did not go well on Friday night. We'll get to the pathetic offense coming up in a bit, but Max Scherzer is the lead in terms of what went down here. So Max Scherzer lasted for 1 out and 12 pitches in this 1-0 loss to the Giants on Friday night. He started stretching on the mound during the top of the first inning. Davey Martinez, Paul Lessard, the Nats director of athletic training, and multiple Nats infielders converged near the mound. Max threw a practice pitch, clearly didn't feel right, and then just started walking toward the dugout. It was a very ominous scene. You didn't know what was going on. It kind of looked like a lower body thing, but of course you're not 100% sure of anything in the moment. If you watched the game on TV, you very clearly saw Max as he walked toward the dugout scream the F word, and who could blame him? The good news is this doesn't seem to be a big deal. Now, I think anything with Max Scherzer is a big deal, but Max during his post-game press conference on Friday night saying that he felt a groin tweak, that the ailment per an MRI exam is not a muscle strain, and that this is a best-case scenario, all things considered.
Threw a pitch there to Brandon Belt, and all of a sudden I felt my groin tweak on me. When I had that happen, it's foreign for me to have that type of injury on that location of my body. Knew I needed to take a warm-up pitch. I couldn't look myself straight if I didn't throw another warm-up pitch. So obviously I had to get everybody out there, give it a second, try to make another pitch. And obviously once I made that warm-up pitch, it grabbed again in the same spot. So it just wasn't an injury that you can pitch through.
So, yeah, you can certainly glass half full it and say, well, it could be a lot worse. You're not dealing with a back issue or a hamstring issue. It's not even an upper body injury, so we're not talking about the shoulder or the elbow or anything like that. But Max Scherzer had to leave this game throwing just 12 pitches, recording just 1 out. There's no way to frame that as a good thing. It just obviously could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it was best case scenario because to me, I'll be honest, right away, I thought it was the arm. I guess I just assumed it was the arm, even though I saw his emotions and the things that he was stretching on the mound. And especially because he knew right away on that first pitch, and Davey right away gave him the hook. So I just assumed arm. So to then get confirmation that it is, to use a hockey term, a lower body injury, I think is as good as you could have asked for.
Yeah, now, there's a bigger picture here, and that is Max Scherzer is human, okay? As great of an all-time pitcher he is, and he's obviously a future Hall of Famer, we have started to see signs over the last few years of Max Scherzer's body starting to break down here, and that happens. For a pitcher who's been incredibly durable as he has been, something like this is bound to happen, and the question has always been, well, to what extent does it happen, and can you kind of stave off the body completely falling apart? And so far, Max has done that. He's been outstanding so far this year, but I think it needs to be understood. He's in his age 36 season, and you go back to the 2019 championship season, right? During that season, you had Max with his 2 stints on the 10-day injured list, and he was never really the same after that. Max was lights out in that 2019 season in the first half. He was not, though, lights out in the second half. He had the 2 IL stints in that regular season. He then, of course, got shockingly scratched from Game 5 of the World Series due to spasms in his neck and or right trapezius muscle. You may recall Max this past spring training got off to I don't want to say slow start, but he got off to not the start you would want in terms of availability because of a sprained left ankle that was suffered while he was conditioning about 2 weeks prior to the start of spring training. So, these have been like little nagging things. I mean, these things have not been things that have sidelined him for months at a time. This has certainly not been a Steven Strasburg situation, but he is human and he is older. And, something like what happened on Friday night, even if this doesn't end up being that big of a deal, it's still a start in which he only lasts for 12 pitches and 1 out. And it's a groin ailment, which is the kind of thing that happens to people as they get older. So hopefully Max doesn't miss much time. God forbid Max misses much time. I mean, this is a pitching rotation that already is in a bad way, with Strasburg being back on the 10-day IL, with Patrick Corbin being a mess so far this year, with this over-reliance on guys like John Lester and Joe Ross and Eric Fetty, who we'll see back in the mix on Saturday. But it's another bad thing that's happening this season. For those of you who watched the game on MASN, Bob Carpenter said as they went to break there with Max walking off the mound, what else can go wrong this season? And he's right. I think that's a feeling that every Nationals fan had watching that moment. Now, the bright spot to Friday night from a pitching standpoint, and you made mention of it, was a spectacular job by the bullpen. The Nationals bullpen, which has not been in a good way here lately, was fresh coming off the day off and was lights out in this game. The bullpen ends up being leaned upon a ton once again, which is the negative to all this, is that you're right back being in a bullpen debt here. But man, what a job. 5 Nationals relievers combined to allow 1 run in 8 2/3 innings on 10 strikeouts. Paolo Espino, 1 run in 3 1/3 innings with 5 strikeouts. Kyle McGowan, 1 1/3 scoreless innings with 2 strikeouts. Wander Suero, perfect top of the 6th. Ryan Harper, 2 perfect innings with 2 strikeouts. And Sam Clay, a perfect top of the 9th. Tim, Davey didn't even use his A guys and still was able to get this kind of run prevention from the bullpen. It stinks that the Nats, again, had to use all these relievers in a game, especially a Max Scherzer started game. But man, what a job by the Nats bullpen on Friday night.
Yeah, you look at McGowan and Harper, just those 2 guys alone, who have spent the bulk of this year in AAA, throwing 3 clean innings against the best record in all of baseball right now, the San Francisco Giants. Our guy, Paolo Espino, talk about hard luck, man. I mean, what a performance by him. That home run by about, 4 inches, it seemed like, the Posey homer. Of course, we were rooting for that legend of Paolo to grow tonight, and we were so close with that. And Al, you've been on Sam Clay, rightfully so. That, to me, of all of the performances tonight, and I don't want to ignore Wander Suero, that, to me, was the most important because he's borderline on the roster right now based upon his past few weeks. So I think if you're a glass half full person, I would focus on the Clay 9th inning.
It was good to see that. He needed that for sure. And that you were able to get this kind of bullpen performance without having to fire the Daniel Hudson bullet, the Brad Hand bullet, even the Tanner Rainey bullet. That's a positive, but it's not a positive that you had to use 5 relievers. And here you are in the midst of 4 games in 3 days against the Major League leading San Francisco Giants. The one game that you felt relatively confident in from a standpoint of getting length from your starter, you get 1 out and 12 pitches. Again, there's like a black cloud right now over the Nationals, and it certainly seemed to be the case on Friday night. Now, Tim Shovers is the man who got us these Nats Chat podcast t-shirts, which we've been telling you about, and so many of you have purchased already. You can get yours, natschatpodcast.square.site. I have said that at some point we need a Paolo Espino t-shirt. At what point are we ready to go forward with a Paolo Espino t-shirt? He gave up the homer to Buster Posey, so I don't know if he's t-shirt worthy yet. Are we getting closer, though, to Espino being t-shirt worthy?
I've done some back-end things to get the thing started. So, yeah, if T-shirt 1 happened, that's the hardest one. So we should get T-shirt 2. But what's the slogan, Al? Is it Pablo Power? What is it? Is it Miss Iowa Part 2? What do you want on the T-shirt?
That's a great question. And you know what? Let's send this out to the throbbing brain, and let's get a little crowdsourcing going on this. If you have an idea for a catchy phrase when it comes to our Paolo Espino t-shirt, because we've got to come out with a Paolo Espino t-shirt at some point here, let us know. You can hit us up on Twitter at @Nats_chat. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. But yeah, man, Espino's done a really good job. And we mock it because of the name and kind of the journeyman nature of him, but he really has delivered this year. Paolo Espino on Friday night, 50 pitches, 35 strikes versus 15 balls. And if not for the 1-out solo shot by Buster Posey in the top of the 4th, I mean, 3 1/3 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. Espino has been great, but the Nats bullpen overall was really good on Friday night. So we definitely do want to highlight that. Hey guys, Al Galdi here to tell you about FanDuel. It's great to be in the midst of baseball season. Nothing like watching a game. Great weather, cold drink, and a little action on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you have never bet on baseball before, now is the perfect time to give that a shot. FanDuel is letting new users swing for the fences risk-free, as you'll get up to $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't win. And once you have an account, you can get up to $25 back each day if your same game parlay bet falls one leg short. This way you can combine multiple baseball bets for an even bigger win all season long. There's a reason that FanDuel Sportsbook is America's #1 sportsbook. The app is simple to use. It's got great odds on all different betting markets, unique fun bet types like same-game parlay and always-on promotions to let you get more action out of every game day. And when you win, FanDuel will pay you your winnings in as little as 24 hours. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code CHAT to get in on the action. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CHAT. And games on Saturday include the Angels at Arizona, Saturday afternoon at 4:10. The Angels are starting the former Oriole Alex Cobb, who's been great lately, an ERA at 2.25 over his last 4 starts. The Diamondbacks are the worst team in the majors. Angels certainly feel like the play.
21 plus and present in Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, or West Virginia. First on my real money wager, only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site. Credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 1-800-9-WITH in Indiana. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia, Tennessee. 1-800-889-9789. Or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net.
Not so great on Friday night was the offense. It's terrible. We've harped on this. This is the worst Nationals offense since the team got good, beginning with the 2012 season. This is a Nats offense that, at least so far this season, has been on par with some of the wretched offenses that you had during the dark days of the Nationals franchise. And what went down on Friday night really was brutal. The Nats get shut out. The Nats finish the game with just 2 hits and 1 walk. The Nats finish the game with just 1 at-bat with a runner in scoring position. 0 for 1 with the Nats with runners in scoring position. All of this happens against Anthony DeSclafani. Now, Anthony DeSclafani is not a bad pitcher, but understand Anthony DeSclafani is not some dominant pitcher. This was not, facing Jacob deGrom or Brandon Woodruff or, Tyler Glasnow or anybody like that. DeSclafani came into the game with an ERA plus on the season of 109 over 12 starts. That's a good ERA plus. That's not a great one. 100 is league average. 109 is you're above the league average, which is good, but you're not dominant by any stretch. And yet DeSclafani was dominant on Friday night. A 2-hit shutout, 8 strikeouts. The Nats, Tim, now have been shut out 8 times in 59 games this season.
Yeah, I don't even know how that's possible. I mean, when I saw that afterwards, I had to double check to confirm. And even though multiple sources reported it, and I've seen it with my own eyes all season, Al, I don't know about you. You and Mark have some of these frustrating offensive games where you say, well, I knew, the other night in Tampa, for instance, I knew they weren't going to take advantage in the 8th inning with guys on. Didn't you just feel it when that Soto homer got robbed by Tauchman that was it? That was their shot. That was their one chance to score the whole night?
It definitely felt that way. The one thing I kept coming back to, though, watching the game was, it's only a 1-0 game. So you're like, it's not going to take much to take the lead in this game. So you can continue to be bad offensively, but all it takes is for a couple of extra base hits and you've tied the ball game. You get like back-to-back doubles or something like that, and you're on the board, and they couldn't even get that. Nats had 2 hits the entire game. Trey Turner had a leadoff single in the bottom of the 4th. Josh Bell had a 2-out first-pitch double in the bottom of the 7th, and that was it. 1 walk the entire game. Kyle Schwarber, a leadoff full-count walk in the bottom of the 5th inning. That was it. You had nothing happening with this offense. Our guy Starlin Castro, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Jordy Mercer, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Victor Robles, 0 for 2. Ryan Zimmerman and Andrew Stevenson as pinch hitters in the bottom of the 9th. Nothing. Juan Soto, 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Now, you mentioned he had a ball that was hit that's a home run in just about any other spot, but a fabulous catch made by the Giants left fielder Mike Tauchman. This was total robbery. Soto getting robbed of a 1-out solo homer in the bottom of the 7th. Tauchman, what a job. A tremendous leaping and backhanded catch over the wall for the 2nd out. Ends up spinning as he makes the catch. That really was a tremendous catch by Tauchman. But this is what the Giants do. I mean, people need to understand this. The Giants are the best team in baseball this season. I mean, nobody expected this, and yet it is the case. And the Giants are doing this with run prevention. The Giants came into this series number 1 in the majors in pitching staff ground ball percentage at 47.8. You don't put the ball in the air, and apparently when you do, you get robbed of home runs, as Juan Soto learned on Friday night. But the Giants have been great when it comes to inducing grounders. And the Giants overall defensively have been top 10 of the majors this season. Came into the series tied for 8th in the majors in defensive runs saved at plus 18. This is not a sexy team in a lot of ways. Like I said, this is not a team that was expected to be really good, but this team has been the class of baseball so far this year. And I thought we saw a lot of that on display in this game on Friday night. It's not a team that scares you. No, it's not unlike the Tampa Bay Rays in that regard. You sort of look at them and you're like, how are they this good? And yet they are. And the Giants do things like pitch well, induce ground balls, play good defense, and they beat you. And the Giants certainly beat the Nats on Friday night.
Yeah, and great defense from a fellow Terp, Lamont Wade, robbing an early hit early on. And I remember watching Wade on those great Maryland teams that played in the Super Regionals. But, Al, I got to ask you this. You mentioned Jordy Mercer, 0 for 3 tonight. 2 things on Mercer. One, was Josh Harrison totally scratched tonight? Because why didn't they pinch hit Harrison for Mercer with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th? I didn't understand that one at all.
So, my only thing with Harrison would be maybe this is one of these deals where he's dealing with something. Otherwise, I don't know why. To me, Jordy Mercer should be nothing more than a late-inning defensive replacement. To me, he's played too much this season in terms of hitting, and I know that he hasn't played that much, but he is an automatic out. Jordy Mercer, as we speak now, 224 batting average, 237 on base percentage, and a 293 slugging percentage. His OPS on the season is 530. That is atrocious. I don't know how you have him bat in any lineup. He should not be starting games for you. Like, to me, call up Luis Garcia. Mercer should not be occupying a spot in a batting lineup with any kind of frequency with the way things have gone for him. Not just this season, but he was bad last season. He was really bad last season. He's not bad with the glove. So again, late inning defensive replacement. But yeah, on a team that's already really bad offensively, when you're giving Jordy Mercer some playing time and some starts in the season, that's a problem.
Al, I'll take it one step further, and you kind of just alluded to it. I think it's, why is he on the roster, period? Is it just because he can play second and third base? Because it seems like there's got to be other guys in the major league. If you're not ready to call up Garcia, which is a whole another thing, which I hope that the Nats call up Garcia in the near future, then find a Todd Frazier or someone else who's been DFA'd by another team and just try it out, because he goes up there and you just know there's no chance he's going to get a hit. And it's not like he's got some great glove, It's not like he pulls it for you on the other side. So to me, I think, if you're looking for some sort of move, something, and there's more drastic ones that the team can make, and we have alluded to that in many of these podcasts, to me, an easy one is just end this Jordy Mercer situation.
There's no reason to be committed to him, and especially if Josh Harrison, first of all, Harrison has come crashing back down to earth in recent weeks. I've been talking about that. But if he's dealing with something, because it is odd, right? You're coming off an off day, albeit due to a rainout, and Harrison isn't starting. You need another option here. And Mercer cannot be that option, not with any kind of regularity. I don't get that. And it's not like you're building towards something with him either, right? He's a veteran player. This is a stopgap measure for you in terms of an infielder for this season. Nats themselves did have some standout defensive moments in the game on Friday night. Did want to make mention of these. Starlin Castro has not been good offensively this season, but what a great defensive play made in the game for the second out in the top of the 7th, charging and barehanding a slow roller off the bat of Donovan Solano, making a scoop and throw for the out. Good job by Josh Bell on the play, too, stretching to stay on first base. Giants challenged the play, but the initial ruling of an out was upheld. And Juan Soto, of being robbed of a home run, did then make a nice catch himself, a sliding forward and backhanded catch to rob the aforementioned Lamont Wade of a hit for the third out in the top of the 8th. Pitching and defense were not the Nats' problems on Friday night. Hitting, again, was the Nats' problem on Friday night, and the Nationals shut out again. So, doubleheader on Saturday. Game 1, 2:05 Saturday afternoon. Game 2, 7:15 Saturday night. Each game, of course, will be a 7-inning game. The Nationals are 0-5 in 7-inning games on the season. I don't know that there's a particular reason for that. I mean, the Nats aren't a very good team so far this year, but that's got to change. 0-5, you got to turn that 0 into a 1, if not a 2, on Saturday. But the pitching matchup in Game 1 of the doubleheader is a really interesting one. Eric Fedde versus Kevin Gausman. Now, let's start with Gausman here real quick. The former Oriole has blossomed over the last few seasons and has been otherworldly so far in this 2021 season. Kevin Gausman, over 12 starts this year, has an ERA of 1.27. He has an ERA plus of 300. Again, 100 is league average for ERA plus. 300 is Kevin Gausman's ERA plus on the season. We have seen how frighteningly bad the Nationals have been offensively against high-level starting pitching so far this year. We have seen how bad the Nats have been against lower-level starting pitching so far this year. See the Tucker Davidson loss to the Braves not that long ago. It is frightening, Tim, to think what could happen with this Nats lineup Saturday afternoon against Gausman with the way he's been pitching so far this year.
Al, I think of you every time I see Gausman's name. You and I had so many conversations about him when he was flopping as a first-round pick in Baltimore. I feel for all the O's fans that have to see Gausman thrive like this these years later. But you're right. It's a very difficult matchup for them tomorrow. Eric Fedde, welcome back. And now, not only do you have to pitch for the first time in nearly a month at the big leagues, oh, by the way, the bullpen just pitched a complete game, basically. So you're walking on a tightrope, and there's another game afterwards. So Eric Fedde, if he could somehow recreate his performance in Arizona, would be absolutely, crucial for them tomorrow. And there's so much pressure on him for, as I said, for a guy that hasn't started in almost a month.
Yeah, so that's the other intriguing part about Saturday is that Fedde is back. And I'm really happy for him that he is finally back, although, geez, did it take a while. Eric Fedde got placed on the COVID-19 injured list on May 19th. As we've discussed, he got COVID-19 despite being vaccinated. Okay, we know that can happen. But he ended up having to miss a ton of time because of MLB's rules here of even if you're vaccinated and asymptomatic, you still have to miss a certain amount of time. Then you had the mess that was him trying to get a rehab start in for the high A Wilmington Blue Rocks. His first 2 attempts at a rehab start postponed due to rain. He finally made the rehab start last Saturday, June 5th. And the other thing with Fedde is, and you just alluded to it, his last major league start was the best major league outing of his career. Like, the guy was, relatively speaking, doing great work, okay? Like Eric Fedde, we've been waiting on him for years to blossom. I don't know that he is blossoming this season, but we certainly have seen signs that he is. Fedde goes out there and what ended up being the 3-0 win at the Arizona Diamondbacks on May 16th, 7 scoreless innings. And then just a few days later, he gets placed on the COVID-19 injured list, and he hasn't pitched at the major league level since. Eric Fedde's going to end up missing about a month with this COVID-19 situation. His last start was May 16th. Saturday will be June 12th. And that's when he makes his next start. I mean, that is criminal to me that this ended up happening to the guy. We just talked about the black cloud hovering over the Nats. You very much feel like that's been the case with Eric Fedde in his career, especially, with him getting jerked around between being a starter and a reliever. And now that he's finally doing well this season, first, all the talk of him being yanked from the rotation with initially Steven Strasburg coming back from that first IL stint, and then Fedde getting COVID again off having been vaccinated. But this is obviously a real opportunity for Fedde here because Strasburg is back on the IL. The Nats need all the help they can get right now in terms of starting pitching and length from starting pitchers. He can really assert himself here. It's not going to be easy to pick up where he left off, but Eric Fedde, he got shelled in his initial outing this season, that 7-6 loss to the Braves in Game 1 of a doubleheader all the way back on April 7th. 6 runs, 5 earned, 1 2/3 innings. But since that game, Eric Fedde has an ERA of 3.35 on the year. Would love to see Fedde continue to do well this season. Not going to be easy, though, against, again, the Major League leading Giants on Saturday. And you're going to be, even if you do well, in theory, in a duel here with Kevin Gausman, who's been out of his mind so far this year. All right, you can always send us voice memos. We welcome those from you. You can, write us, but you can also speak to us. Ask a question, put forth a comment, just simply record yourself speaking into your smartphone, and then you can email that to us. The email address, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. With another bad outing for the offense on Friday night, we play for you now this voice memo from Andy in Atlanta.
I have a comment or question regarding the signing of Strasburg last year over Rondon. I think one of the problems that the Nats are experiencing now is the fact that they're missing a superstar, a young superstar like Rondon in the prime of his career, and instead are having to deal with all of the issues that Strasburg brings, and which they should have been aware of. In addition to his injuries, it's just a lot of the stuff that he gets involved in is just not, I don't think, conducive to winning over the long term. And now they're left with Soto without any protection on either side of them. So I just want to know what you gentlemen feel about the signing of Strasburg and letting Rondon go. Thank you.
All right, so we appreciate that from Andy, and it's a question that I know a lot of Nationals fans continue to wonder about. Why didn't the Nats re-sign Anthony Rendon after the 2019 season, going with Steven Strasburg and not Rendon? Was that the right call? It certainly doesn't look like a home run of a call, at least right now. So a few things I'll point out. Number one, Rendon is having a bad 2021, okay? I don't expect that to continue. But Rendon was really good in 2020, his first season with the Angels. He has not been good so far this season for the Angels, so that's to be kept in mind. The other thing is this. So it was positioned by Mark Lerner that the Nats could only re-sign one of the two, Steven Strasburg, Anthony Rendon. Each guy, interestingly enough, ended up getting a 7-year, $245 million contract. So each guy got the same deal, albeit, with deferrals. They're not exactly the same deals, but you get the idea. But the narrative that was put out there by Mark Lerner, I remember he had this conversation with Donald Dell of NBC Sports Washington back in December of 2019 was, well, we can't afford both of those guys. We can only afford one of those guys. I always felt like that was misleading. The Lerners are the richest ownership group in Major League Baseball. They could have afforded to re-sign both. The Lerners chose not to re-sign both. That's their choice. That's fine. I'm never going to call the Lerners cheap when it comes to payroll, because the Lerners have had a top 10 payroll in baseball for years. But the idea that the team could not afford to re-sign both Steven Strasburg and Anthony Rendon is a falsity. It's not true. The team could have done that, chose not to do that, and chose to re-sign Strasburg. I get why. I also get why with Rendon, he wasn't re-signed. Rendon, first of all, there's a lot of conversation about whether he truly wanted to re-sign with the Nationals. So I'm not sure that he was lusting to come back to the Nats. Rendon, he prefers a lower profile situation. I know that Washington, D.C. is not like New York in terms of the spotlight being on you as a baseball player, but Rendon now plays in virtual anonymity with the Angels. And I know that may sound odd because the Angels are an LA-based team, but clearly the Angels are the second team in that market. And the Angels have multiple other superstars beyond Rendon when you think about Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, etc. So, Rendon, I think in a lot of ways prefers that environment. The other thing with Rendon is, he has not exactly been an Iron Man. Rendon has missed a lot of games over the years. 2019, he played in just 146 games, dealt with a left elbow contusion. 2018, played in just 136 games. He dealt with a toe injury, a foot injury. 2017, he played in just 147 games. 2015, played in just 80 games due to that left knee injury and then an oblique injury. He was going into his 30s. The 2020 season was his age 30 season. So, you add all this stuff up. Wasn't necessarily wanting to come back here or dying to come back here. Has an injury history. Is going into his 30s. I can understand why the Nats chose to pay Strasburg and not Rendon. Of course, Strasburg himself has an injury history. And of course, so far, the Strasburg contract looks like an absolute disaster. What compounds the Rendon thing, too, is the Carter Kieboom flop. So it doesn't look good right now, right? If you could undo this, I think you would. Re-sign Rendon, don't re-sign Strasburg. But I think when you go back to the circumstances in the moment, especially with Strasburg coming off World Series MVP, I do understand why Strasburg was the one the Nats chose to re-sign. Again, if you accept this frame that you could only re-sign one, which I don't necessarily accept.
I think I'm on an island right now. I'll make this simple. To me, in my opinion, in my experience with baseball, starting pitching is just like quarterback playing football. It's why you win, and it's why you lose. And it's a double-edged sword. And so to me, I always choose pitching. Now, so far, the results with Strasburg have been utterly disastrous, of course. And I laid it out for us in the curse at the top of this show. But to me, I think the Nats made the right decision. As great as Rendon is, and he's one of my favorite players ever because he does it on both sides with his bat and his glove, and he does it every single day, and he does it with a smile on his face. But if Strasburg was healthy this year, and Corbin was pitching like 2019 Corbin, and Lester hadn't missed a month, without doing any math, how many more wins do you think the Nats would have right now, Al? Just whatever number comes to your head.
I'd say at least 5 to 8.
Okay, I was going to say 5 or 6. So they would be over 500. You know what I mean? It's kind of just bring it back to football. Obviously, offensive line play is important. Obviously, you need good defense. And if you can't cover anyone, you're screwed. But if you have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, then you're going to be one of the final 4 to 8 teams every single year. And that's how I view it with pitching.
Yeah, that's not unreasonable, especially for this franchise, which obviously has been so starting pitching based and so starting pitching dependent for years. The thing that jumps out is these big money contracts for pitchers especially. just tend to not work out. I mean, the Max Scherzer deal is such an outlier. And with Strasburg, especially now looking back on it, there were so many red flags. And so far, I mean, he can't even make, consecutive starts anymore. I mean, it's really been bad with the way things have gone here. You got to hope somehow the Nats are able to figure this out with him and keep him relatively healthy and at least get some production out of him. This is year 2 of that contract. But yeah, there's a lot to remember with why Rendon ended up not re-signing here. I'm sympathetic to a degree, but I also don't like the thing that continues to always come up of you had to choose one. I don't think you had to choose one. You could have done both. You also could have done neither. There's a school of thought that says you should never sign guys to these mega money deals because so many of them don't work out. And I think there is something to be said for that. But the Nats would have gotten killed had they not re-signed either guy after winning the 2019 World Series. Well, you tell us what you think. Hit us up on Twitter at Nats_chat. You can always email us to natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like to become a sponsor of the Nats Chat Podcast. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Tim Shovers, I'm Al Galdi. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Greinke delivers. Swing a long drive to left. Way back. Forget about it. It is going, and long gone into the Crawford boxes, and the Nationals are on the board. Anthony Rendon has his second home run in the World Series. It's now the Astros 2 and the Nationals 1 as Anthony Rendon delivers a big hit here in the 7th inning.